From Ticker News with Aaron Young, this is Ticker Today.
Hello, thanks so much for joining me today. President Trump lashes out at Iran, but also offers an unexpected message to the Supreme Leader: good luck. His critics question whether America should enter another war. As Iran now vows defiance, Trump hints at possible military action, but keeps everyone guessing about what will come next. The Federal Reserve holds interest rates steady in the United States, but inflation fears are now growing. New tariffs could push unemployment higher as the chair, Jerome Powell, urges further caution. A bold tax reform idea for Australia: hike the GST and slash income tax. The Treasurer is under pressure today as economists now call for a shake-up in Australia's revenue system. And chaos in the skies. Flights to Bali now cancelled as an Indonesian volcano erupts, grounding thousands of holidaymakers and raising fresh safety concerns. You are watching Ticker Today, the latest news and business moving the world. Let's get started. We begin the United States President Donald Trump responding to Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's defiance in the ongoing Israel conflict by wishing him good luck. Khamenei declared that Iran would not surrender and warned of severe consequences for military intervention. When asked about possible US military action, Trump was non-committal, stating that nobody knows what he will decide. He says Iran now facing significant difficulties and expressed a desire for negotiations to have happened earlier, but he says he will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon.
It's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, because the entire world will blow up. I'm not going to let that happen.
The president has come under criticism from members of his own party and the MAGA movement, including Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson. But President Trump responding to that criticism with this.
My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me, but nobody thinks it's okay.
The Federal Reserve has decided to maintain its current interest rates, which range between 4.25% and 4.5%, while remaining open to potential cuts later on this year. Officials are now closely monitoring how businesses manage rising costs from tariffs, with expectations inflation and unemployment will increase more than previously anticipated. The Fed Chair Jerome Powell indicating that a cautious approach is necessary due to economic uncertainties, including the impact of new tariffs. Now, despite the calls from President Trump for significant rate cuts, the Fed is prioritising inflation control over immediate economic stimulus. Here is Jerome Powell.
Despite elevated uncertainty, the economy is in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer-run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. We believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
In Australia, Treasurer Jim Chalmers is set to convene a productivity roundtable to discuss economic reforms for the Albanese government's second term. AMP's chief economist Shane Oliver has suggested increasing the GST while lowering income tax to enhance productivity. Chris Freeland from CPA Australia also calling for reform, explaining the need to address Australia's heavy reliance on income tax. The discussions come as concerns now grow over proposed taxes on unrealised gains, which some believe could harm Australia's competitive edge. A volcanic eruption in Indonesia has disrupted travel for many Australians wishing to head to Bali and return home. Flights operated by Jetstar, Virgin have been suspended following the eruption of the volcano, which sent ash 11 kilometres into the air. The airport in that area has now been closed, and local authorities are evacuating residents from nearby villages due to falling ash. Now, despite the chaos, no casualties have so far been reported. Japan's exports fell by 1.7% in May year-on-year, the sharpest drop in 8 months as trade uncertainties continue. Shipments to the US decreased by 11% and exports to China were down by just under 9%. Automotive exports saw a significant decline of 6.9%, with US motor vehicle exports plummeting 24%. Japan's trade deficit was 637 billion yen, smaller than expected as exports fell by 7.7%. US President Donald Trump's new smartphone, the T1, is expected to be made in China, contrary to claims of American production by the Trump Organization. The device, priced at $499 and running on Google's Android, will incorporate components from international suppliers, including screens from South Korean firms and chips from Taiwan. Experts indicate that while some manufacturing may happen in the US, reliance on foreign components is inevitable. The Trump Organization hasn't yet commented on the assessments. And Donald Trump got what he wanted. He's installed two 88-foot-tall flagpoles on the White House lawns, stating they are needed, and he funded them himself. The installation began on the 18th of June with the US flag raising ceremony on the South Lawn, attended by his daughter Ivanka Trump and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Second flagpole was set up on the North Lawn as well, and the flag remains unraised due to thunderstorms in the area. Trump noting the poles costing around $50,000 each are a gift from him. He hopes that they will stand proudly at the White House for years. Checking the markets, and the Dow ended slightly lower after the Fed Reserve announced it would keep interest rates unchanged. Here are the numbers. The Dow fell by 44 points, closing at 42,171. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq, well, they had mixed results. The Fed signaled 2 potential rate cuts this year, but raised concerns about economic growth and inflation. Now, the policymakers lowered the 2025 forecast for economic growth to just 1.4%, and core inflation outlook is down to 3.1%.